Everybody, and good morning. Today I wanted to talk about the different stages of social development. Here's the pup. I just said something, so he came and ran to me. I wanted to talk about the different stages of social development. We've talked about development in the womb. We've talked about moral development, cognitive development with Piaget. And so today we're going to talk about how we develop socially. So obviously, a kindergartner is different socially than someone who's 70 years old. So we go through these different stages. So the guy who came up with these different stages is named Erikson. It's a really lame name. He actually changed his name to be Erikson. But he describes 8 stages of social development. So I'm going to go through each one, and you guys are going to fill out that note catcher that I just posted in Classroom. So without further ado, let's start with stage number 1, trust versus mistrust. So, all of these stages have like something versus something else. So trust versus mistrust is kind of the outcome. So it starts, since it's the first stage, it's little children, like babies. And so they can either develop trust in the world or not have trust in the world. And this is determined by their caregiver and how well their caregiver responds to their needs, their physical needs and their emotional needs. So if the caregiver responds appropriately, whether it's mom or dad, that child will not only have trust in mom, seeing mom or dad as a secure base, as someone that the child can rely on, but also have just a general trust in the world and in people. So that person is most likely to grow up to be a trusting adult, an adult who finds safety in other people and safety in relationships, because they have that history of safety. So that's stage 1, trust versus mistrust. So the second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. So autonomy means having personal control, and shame is obviously when you feel bad about not being able to do what you're supposed to do. So children in this stage want to be independent. Just like you guys as teenagers, little toddlers want to be incredibly independent. They have these newfound powers, like they can use their senses, they can move about their environment, they have these minds which they can use to explore things. And so they want to get out and do that, and they don't want their parents telling them what they can and can't do. So they seek autonomy. Autonomy means independence. And so they go around, they want to go outside, they want to explore new things, right? And if they are encouraged to do that and guided in that process of doing that, then they'll develop a healthy sense of can-do, kind of I am my own self, I am free to operate in the world around me, and they'll feel confident in their abilities, right? They'll have that sense of independence. However, if they go around and parents are shaming them and prohibiting them from doing these activities and exploring the world around them and using their newfound powers and cognitive abilities, then they're going to develop a sense of shame about who they are and doubt in their abilities. So that's stage 2, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Let's go to stage 3, initiative versus guilt. So this is around the time of maybe 3-4 years old. Kids, 3, 4, 5, kids are starting to initiate play with their peers. So they're on the playground, they're with family, cousins, friends, and they're initiating play, and that play is really, really important for them to develop their cognitive skills, like their intellectual skills, right? Play is incredibly creative, very imaginative, right? It requires a lot of rules and structures that kids enforce on each other, right? So they learn a lot about the social world, and they develop cognitively, intellectually because of it. So with initiative versus guilt, these kids either initiate play, and when they initiate play, it is their peers take well to it. It's like, hey, want to play a game of tag, right? They tag their friend, and it starts, and they have fun, and they follow the rules really well, and everybody has a good time, and it's all a lot of fun, and they learn a lot. Or they have guilt over their abilities, and so they try to initiate, and then they're shot down for it. Or when they do, they don't play the game right, and they're just kind of as an outcast. And they feel a lot of guilt that they initiated in the first place. And they kind of when they develop into kind of adults that aren't as that aren't as willing to initiate, right? That feel guilty about what they do and their abilities. So that's stage 3. Stage 4, industry versus inferiority. So by this time, a kid is in school, and school brings its own challenges. One of which is how you do in comparison to others, right? You're getting grades for the first time. You're getting feedback from your teachers, and this feedback reflects whether you are good at what you do or not good at what you do. And so kids will either be really, really industrious. That's how you come out good from this stage, is you're really industrious. You can get your work done. You get good grades. You feel a sense of accomplishment and pride. You have confidence in your own school abilities. Or you feel inferior. Inferior means you feel like you're kind of second or last place to everybody who's around you. So you feel like you're dumber than the other kids. You're not as good as the other kids, and you feel this lack of ability and confidence. And this will carry throughout your adult life, right? If you do really poorly in this stage. So think about these stages as something you got to move on from. You got to graduate from. And if you don't graduate, and when you graduate with a degree or certificate, and they didn't get that certificate coming out of this stage. They don't get the industry part, or they don't get the basic trust. They don't get the autonomy. They don't get the ability to initiate, right? And so you want to come out of this stage with that kind of skill. So the 5th stage is you guys. It's teenagers. It's called identity versus role confusion. And in this stage, you guys are really trying to form who you are. You're figuring out what you believe, what your values are, what you morally believe. You're figuring out what you want to do in life. You're figuring out your political views, your religious views, and you're trying to figure out your identity. And so the key thing to get out of this stage, the thing to graduate with, is a healthy sense of identity. Not only who you are, but what you like, not only professionally, but also in a relationship. And so you want that sense of identity. So as a teenager, what you do is you try different things, right? You go through different phases, and these phases teach you something about yourself and give you a new piece of your identity. And throughout your teenage years, you have kind of like a mosaic, taken all these pieces from all these different phases, and you've built who you are. You've built your identity. The downside of this stage, how you do poorly in this stage, is what's called role confusion. That's where you don't really have a healthy sense of who you are. You didn't pick up your identity throughout these stages. You don't really know what you like. So when you go into a relationship, you don't have a good basis from which to pick a partner because you don't know yourself. So how are you going to pick someone that matches you? Right? You don't know what you want for your career or what you want just in general, religiously, morally, politically, right? And so you need that healthy sense of identity. So stage number 5 is called intimacy versus isolation. These are people in their 20s, right? Intimacy is basically coming out with a partner and having a sense of belonging to your partner, or being isolated, being I guess, forever alone, right? Not having that emotional person to confide in, that deep relationship from which you can, have a spouse or have a foundation of a lot of emotional and psychological support from. So, intimacy, you get a partner. Isolation, forever alone. Let's go to the next stage. Generativity versus stagnation. This is your parents. And so your parents, as an adult, you kind of do the same thing every single day. You raise your kid, you go to work, and things can get pretty stale and lame pretty fast. And so you come out good from this stage by generating new meaning in your life. So your parents might go to church and volunteer their time in their church. They might chase a promotion at work. They might go and do something different and, take you to your t-ball games or whatever clubs that you belong to. Because the same old is boring. They stagnate. They stay the same. They don't grow as people. And so they try to inject new meaning into their life by chasing these promotions, right? By exposing you to new things, right? By taking on more challenges. And so from the years of 30 to 60, most of your life is going to be the same old. Come home to the same house, right? Same kid, same wife, doing the same job, and it's up to you to add meaning to that, right? So you want to generate meaning, right? And so the last stage is called integrity versus despair. This is when you're old and you're looking back on your life and you say, did I live my life with meaning? Did I live it with integrity? Did I do everything I needed to do to make me the best me possible, to chase all of my dreams, to do everything that I wanted to do, right? Did I live my life with integrity? So hopefully the answer is yes, right? Hopefully you raised good kids and you did well in your job and you have all these things to be proud of and you can look back on it and be happy about it. But the bad side of that is despair. When you look back on your life and you see that you maybe left some things on the table. You didn't work as hard as you wanted to. You didn't achieve the things you wanted to. You maybe wasted your time, right, while you were, on this planet, right? And so, and then you have this immense feeling of sadness or despair because you didn't live up to what you wanted to live up to. So, those are Erik Erikson's 8 stages. What I want you guys to do is, again, describe kind of each stage and how I talked about it, and say what is the impact that this stage could have on life, right? What happens if you don't come out of that stage with that certificate or with that degree? What if you don't have intimacy or don't have generativity, right? Or don't have initiative or trust? What will happen to you as an adult because you don't have that or because you do have that, right? Describe the effects of each stage on an adult's life. So that's it. That's Erik Erikson, brought to you by Mr. Winter. Have a great day, guys, and enjoy the rain. Peace.